Some people believe abandonment is loud. They imagine slammed doors, screaming voices, or tearful goodbyes. Mine arrived as silence, an empty house, and a single sheet of notebook paper folded neatly on the kitchen counter. Welcome back to Family Reckoning, where family secrets always leave a mark. Today's story isn't about revenge shouted across a room. It's about the quiet kind that comes from telling the truth when everyone expects you to stay silent. I have spent most of my life building cabinets. Wood has always made more sense to me than people. Every board carries knots, grain, and tiny imperfections that tell you exactly how it should be treated. Force it the wrong way and it splits. Respect its nature, and it becomes something that lasts for generations. Families, I've learned, are much harder to read. When I was 17, I believed my parents and I were simply struggling through another difficult season. Money had always been tight, and my father chased better-paying jobs the way some people chase lucky lottery numbers. My mother cared deeply about appearances. She believed success wasn't something you earned quietly, it was something neighbors needed to notice. If someone bought a newer truck, she wanted one newer still. If another family posted vacation photos, suddenly we needed one too. Looking back now, I understand she wasn't cruel by nature. She was terrified of looking unsuccessful. Fear wears expensive clothes more often than people realize. I had a little sister named Emma, 8 years younger than me. She was the kind of child who apologized to chairs after bumping into them. She believed every promise adults made. Back then, I still believed most of them too. One Friday afternoon, I came home from my part-time job at a furniture workshop. The driveway was empty. The curtains were gone. Inside the house, almost every room echoed. On the kitchen counter sat one folded note. "We're moving 2 states away, you'll figure it out." No explanation, no address, no goodbye. Just 5 words that somehow weighed more than the entire house. For a long time I wondered whether I had imagined my childhood. Neighbors later explained that moving trucks had arrived while I was at work. My parents had told everyone I already knew. Apparently I was the only person who didn't. The following years weren't dramatic. They were practical. I finished school while working full-time at the cabinet shop. My boss, Frank, quietly paid my final semester fees after noticing I'd stopped bringing lunch. He never mentioned it. I discovered months later when the school office thanked me for the payment. Frank believed kindness should be assembled like fine furniture. No unnecessary nails showing, no loud announcements, just careful craftsmanship. Eventually I became foreman. Years later, I opened my own custom woodworking business. Every cabinet I delivered reminded me of something life had taught me. Strong foundations are invisible. People only notice the polished surface. By 30, my company employed 12 people. By 29, I had married Olivia, an elementary school teacher who believed children deserved honesty even when adults found it inconvenient. Together we were raising our daughter Lily. She had inherited Olivia's patience and my habit of noticing tiny details everyone else overlooked. If a picture frame hung crooked by half an inch, Lily would straighten it before saying hello. When she was 10, my phone rang for the first time in almost 12 years with a number I didn't recognize. It was my mother. She spoke carefully, as if rehearsing every sentence. Apparently my cousin Ethan was getting married. The entire extended family would attend. Everyone wanted to reconnect. She said enough time had passed. Time is an interesting carpenter. It doesn't erase damage. It simply teaches you how to build around it. Olivia squeezed my hand while I listened. She never told me what decision to make. She simply asked whether I'd regret staying away more than attending. So we went. The venue overlooked a quiet lake surrounded by old oak trees. Everything looked expensive without trying too hard. Luxury has a different voice than wealth pretending to be important. For the first hour, relatives smiled too much. Everyone complimented Lily. Everyone avoided mentioning the note. My parents behaved as though 12 missing years had been an unusually long weekend. My cousin's wedding planner approached Lily with an excited smile. She explained that one of the flower girls had become ill, and after seeing Lily helping younger children near the garden, the bride wondered if she'd like to take the empty place. Lily looked toward me before answering. I nodded. Her smile appeared slowly, like sunrise finding its way across a quiet field. She spent the next hour practicing carefully with the coordinator. She counted each step. She memorized exactly where to stand. That evening she placed the flower basket beside our hotel bed instead of on the floor because she didn't want the ribbons to wrinkle. She even asked Olivia to braid her hair the same way the bride had suggested. She wasn't excited because everyone would see her. She was excited because someone trusted her. Watching her reminded me of my younger sister Emma. Children don't measure importance by applause. They measure it by belonging. The following morning, small things began feeling uneven. The wedding planner suddenly avoided eye contact. My aunt kept checking her phone. My mother smiled too often. Every conversation ended a little too quickly when I approached. Olivia noticed it too. Still, every single person assured us everything was fine. They blamed wedding stress, busy schedules, last-minute changes, reasonable explanations stacked together like boards hiding a cracked foundation. Lily spent breakfast practicing her slow walk across the restaurant carpet while carrying imaginary flower petals. She whispered each step under her breath. Left, pause, smile, walk. She wanted to get it exactly right. About an hour before the ceremony, my phone vibrated. It wasn't a call. It was a short text message from the wedding planner. I'm so sorry. The family has decided another child will be the flower girl. Please don't tell Lily I sent this. I read it twice, then a third time. Across the room, Lily was carefully smoothing invisible wrinkles from her dress with both hands, smiling to herself because she believed she had an important job waiting for her. She had no idea that someone had quietly decided she no longer belonged. I slipped my phone back into my pocket before Lily could notice the change in my expression. A cabinet maker learns early that panic makes a crooked cut permanent. The best work begins by measuring twice and cutting once. Life had taught me the same lesson. Olivia looked at me from across the room. She had known me long enough to recognize the silence that meant I was thinking instead of reacting. I quietly showed her the message. She didn't ask what we were going to do. She simply looked toward Lily, who was still practicing her careful little walk while holding the flower basket with both hands. There wasn't a trace of disappointment on her face yet, only hope. I wasn't going to let someone else take that away carelessly. I walked outside and called the wedding planner. She answered almost immediately, her voice carrying the exhaustion of someone caught between doing the right thing and keeping her job. She apologized before I could say a word. She explained that late the previous evening another family had arrived, friends of the bride's parents. They were wealthy, well-connected, and well-known in their community. Their granddaughter had originally been invited only as a guest. That morning, everything changed. Someone insisted that the little girl should become the flower girl instead. Money wasn't exchanged in an envelope. It didn't have to be. The girl's grandfather had quietly offered to cover a large portion of the wedding's remaining expenses after unexpected costs appeared. No one called it buying the role, they called it helping the family. Sometimes the most expensive lies are wrapped inside polite words. Before hanging up, the planner whispered something that stayed with me. She said Lily had done everything perfectly. This had nothing to do with her. I thanked her for telling me the truth. Then I started looking for answers. It didn't take long. She said everyone important would be at the wedding now and that appearances mattered more than a child's feelings that would disappear by next week. My aunt laughed softly. Then my mother said something that carried me back 12 years in an instant. She said people only remembered successful families, not complicated ones. Those words explained more than the note she had left on my kitchen counter ever had. She hadn't abandoned me because she stopped loving me. She abandoned me because I had become inconvenient to the image she wanted the world to see. Later, I asked if we could speak privately. She agreed with surprising confidence. Away from the guests, she straightened her expensive jacket before answering my questions. She admitted she had encouraged the bride's parents to accept the wealthy family's offer. According to her, weddings were opportunities to build relationships. She insisted Lily was too young to understand anyway. Then she quietly added that influential people open doors. Children, she said, eventually forgot disappointments. I looked at her for a long moment. In my workshop, warped wood usually isn't created by one bad day. It bends slowly after years of pressure. Standing there, I realized my mother had been bending herself toward other people's approval for most of her life. Her greatest fear wasn't poverty. It was judgment. That fear had cost her a son. Now it had reached for my daughter. For the first time in 12 years, I understood her completely. Understanding someone, however, doesn't require agreeing with them. I simply told her she had mistaken influence for character. Then I walked away. I wasn't interested in arguing. Facts last longer than raised voices. A few minutes before the ceremony, guests gathered inside the garden overlooking the lake. The officiant had not yet begun. The bride noticed Lily sitting quietly beside Olivia, still holding the flower basket. Confused, she asked why Lily wasn't preparing with the other children. Before anyone else could answer, I calmly stood, every eye turned toward me. I didn't accuse anyone. I didn't embarrass anyone with insults. I simply explained the timeline. I mentioned when Lily had been invited. I explained how carefully she had prepared. I shared the text message I had received only an hour earlier. Then I finished with one sentence. I said no child should learn that promises belong to the highest bidder. Silence settled across the garden. Not angry silence, thoughtful silence. The bride looked toward the wedding planner. The planner quietly nodded. She confirmed every word. The wealthy grandfather looked uncomfortable. To his credit, he stood and admitted he hadn't realized another child had already been promised the role. He believed he was simply helping friends who mentioned a last-minute problem. His granddaughter looked as confused as Lily. She wasn't guilty. She was another child placed inside an adult decision. The bride slowly walked toward Lily. She knelt beside her and apologized directly. Then she made a decision that surprised almost everyone. There would be 2 flower girls. Not because she wanted to avoid embarrassment. Because she realized 2 children should never carry the weight of adult pride. The ceremony began a few minutes late. Lily walked beside the other little girl, smiling shyly. Neither child competed. Neither tried to outshine the other. Children rarely create the divisions adults defend. After the ceremony, many relatives avoided my parents. No dramatic confrontation followed. No shouting. No public humiliation. Only quiet consequences. People had seen enough. Reputations built on appearances are surprisingly fragile once truth becomes visible. Later that evening, the wealthy grandfather approached me. He apologized for unknowingly becoming part of the situation. Instead of offering money, he handed me his business card. He owned a luxury property development company that specialized in custom homes. Months later, my workshop built cabinetry for 3 of his projects. Those contracts expanded my business more than I had imagined. Ironically, the opportunity my mother chased through appearances arrived because someone respected honesty instead. Before leaving the reception, I saw Emma for the first time since I was 17. She hugged me without speaking. Then she quietly admitted she hadn't known our parents planned to leave me behind all those years ago. She had been 16 herself and believed I would arrive later. When she eventually learned the truth, she was already trapped by dependence and guilt. We didn't try to erase 12 years in one conversation. Some bridges aren't rebuilt in a day, they're repaired one careful board at a time. Months later, Emma visited my home. She became part of Lily's life in ways neither of us expected. Our relationship wasn't perfect. It was honest. That mattered more. As for my parents, we remained polite but distant. They occasionally sent birthday cards, sometimes holiday messages. Trust, once broken, doesn't grow back because time passes. It grows only where actions consistently plant new roots. One evening, several weeks after the wedding, Lily found the flower basket stored safely on a shelf in my workshop. She asked why I had kept it. I placed it on the workbench between us. Then I told her something I wished someone had told me when I was 17. I said, sometimes adults make decisions because they're afraid of what other adults will think. That doesn't mean you did anything wrong. She thought about that quietly. Then she smiled the small, peaceful smile children wear when a heavy question finally has a simple answer. She nodded once and said she still liked the flowers better than the attention. I laughed. So did Olivia. That little basket still sits on a shelf in my workshop today, not as a reminder of disappointment, as proof that dignity doesn't need to shout to be heard. Sometimes the strongest revenge isn't making someone suffer, it's refusing to become the person who hurt you. Never measure your worth by the place someone gives you. Your value is revealed by your character, not by another person's approval. If this story touched you, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced a quiet betrayal that changed your life? Don't forget to like, subscribe to Family Reckoning, and turn on notifications for more emotional family stories where the truth always finds its voice.